Welcome to this explainer. All right, get ready, because we are setting the stage today for an absolutely mind-bending journey. Seriously, it is wild. We're going to take a single piece of text and watch it scale all the way from the microscopic, everyday dynamics of a single household straight out to the very edges of the universe. So buckle up, because we are decoding the cosmic architecture embedded within Surah At-Talaq, the 65th chapter of the Quran.
Right off the bat, I want you to consider this central paradox. What on earth does the legal procedure for a household divorce have to do with the architecture of the cosmos? I mean, on the surface, this text just sounds like dry, procedural domestic law, right? It's all about who stays where, how to calculate a waiting period, things like that. But as we're going to uncover by looking at the structural data in our sources, it is actually a scale-invariant blueprint for literally all of reality. The laws governing your living room, they're the exact same laws governing the stars.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp what's going on here, we have to completely shatter our preconceived notions. We need to strip away all that heavy emotional baggage we usually attach to the English word divorce. We tend to think of a divorce as this chaotic, emotional rupture, right? A totally severed, private matter. But the Arabic term being used here, talaq, is something entirely different. It's a formally bounded, highly structured release procedure.
Let's break that down a bit more. The root word, TLQ, literally translates to a regulated release within a bounded system. So talaq is this highly governed operation situated squarely within what the text calls hudud Allah, the operative limits or boundaries of the system. This isn't just about two people angrily walking away from each other and calling it quits. No, it is fundamentally about boundaries, precise measurement, and rigorously respecting structural limits. Just listen to how the text opens in verse 1. It says, "When you release women, release them for their waiting period, and count the period. And those are the limits of Allah." Notice that the text explicitly demands the exact counting, or issa, of this waiting period. It requires absolute mathematical precision. And it goes on to make a huge point. Any transgression of these boundaries is a systemic self-injury, or zulm nafsuhu. You aren't just hurting your partner here. By breaking the boundaries, you are actually structurally damaging yourself. From there, the text outlines the rigid procedural mechanics of this transition. It's incredibly step-by-step. First, you absolutely must count the waiting term precisely. Second, you cannot just arbitrarily expel individuals from their designated living spaces. Third, you've got to provide proportional economic maintenance. And finally, the whole thing has to be verified with witness testimony. The socio-economic obligations, especially the housing and financial upkeep, must perfectly mirror the provider's actual capacity. Why? Well, to prevent any form of structural exploitation. The system literally demands total equilibrium.
Now, right in the middle of these dry, rigid legal mechanics, the text throws in a fascinating psychological pivot. We really need to redefine a word you have probably heard a million times, usually translated as some vague sense of piety or fear. That word is taqwa. In this specific systemic framework, taqwa is the operative variable. It's the load-bearing mechanical input that, when you apply it to a deadlock, actually triggers the entire system to respond. Think of it exactly like typing a master command into a computer terminal.
The text promises this explicitly in verses 2 and 3. It says, "And whoever maintains taqwa of Allah, He will make for him a way out and will provide for him from where he does not expect." Look at what's happening there. The system mechanically responds to the input of taqwa with a tangible external output. It generates a makhraj, which is a structural way out of your localized deadlock. And it provides rizq, or sustenance, from completely unaccounted vectors. It mathematically solves the crisis.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that it isn't just a one-off emotional promise. It is a modular systemic template. When we actually compare this across different chapters, an amazing pattern emerges. In Surah 65, the input of taqwa yields an external exit and provision. But if you apply that exact same input in Surah 49, it dictates relational rank. Over in Surah 64, a similar input dictates the internal guidance of the heart. Taqwa is a universal variable that scales. It yields different functional outputs depending entirely on the structural framework you happen to be operating within.
But of course, to access the systemic output, there's a catch. You have to be operating under a state of what the text calls the ahira. Our sources redefine this term too. It is not just some deferred event waiting for us in the distant future. It's a continuously active state of present accountability. You essentially have to be constantly verifying your actions in the present moment for the system to open those doors for you. Total active presence is required. Okay, so from here, Surah At-Talaq initiates a massive zoom out. We're shifting gears from the micro level of the household, where we've been super focused on individual capacities and precise counting, all the way to the macro level of historical civilizations. We are now looking straight at the mechanics of societal decay.
The text shifts into this objective analysis of past societal data points. Take a look at verse 8. "And how many a city turned in insolence from the command of its lord and his messengers, so it tasted the bad consequence of its affair." Basically, societies that display structural arrogance, this stubborn stiffness against the macro laws of equilibrium, they face mathematical inevitable collapse. It is the exact same dynamic as a household ignoring its operational boundaries, just scaled way up to a civilizational level.
So how does a society actually fix this? Well, the text outlines a strict systemic repair mechanism. Think of it kind of like rebooting a corrupted hard drive. A system failure happens when transgressing the command leads to delumat, which means concealment or darkness. The system repair then requires a messenger to deliver ayat, standing clear demonstrable evidence, very much like injecting clean code. And then the final restoration extracts the people from that concealment right back into disclosure and light or nur. Clear data reverses the corruption and pulls the whole socio-political unit back into systemic alignment.
Which brings us to our final, grandest pivot. I really want you to stop and think about this for a second. What on earth connects a household dispute to the seven heavens? How could the operational rules of a domestic release procedure, stuff like who pays for lodging or how to count waiting periods, how could that possibly map onto the architecture of the universe itself?
The answer lies in one single word, the descending operative principle, the cosmic command. The is the singular governing directive mechanism that acts as the foundational software running all of reality. It's the ultimate authority that dictates both the micro and the macro.
And this brilliantly illustrates the entire genius of the surah structure. In verse 1, while speaking about a household divorce, the text says, perhaps Allah will bring about after that a matter, using the word amr. Now, fast forward to the closing cosmological seal in verse 12. Allah who created seven heavens, the command, the amr, descends among them. Guys, it is the exact same word. The exact same operative command governing the unpredictable, messy shifts in a marriage is the foundational code structuring the infinite strata of the cosmos. No way, right?
Which means we arrive at our profound, awe-inspiring summary. The domestic is not separate from the cosmic. Structural stability, whether we're talking about your living room or the orbit of planets, requires precise alignment with the system's measured boundaries. The exactness required to dissolve a relationship fairly is the identical mathematical law governing historical cycles and cosmic mechanics. So I leave you with this final thought. If the foundational software of reality is running your daily interactions just as it runs the stars, are you currently operating within its boundaries, or are you speeding toward a systemic collapse?